Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're checking out 5 sick, nasty knives that you haven't seen yet. Starting it off with the Urban EDC Finback in Magna Cut steel. This is a pre-order knife that is available for pre-order right now. Now there is carbon fiber and micarta versions. The micarta versions are quite a bit more affordable than the carbon fiber ones. But anyways, this one is a titanium bolster lock. This one obviously has the carbon fiber with a deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws and reversible. Love to see that. So you're not gonna have any problems, with that clip. Titanium backspacer, great access to that lock bar. And for a somewhat of like a gentleman style knife or gentlemanly style knife, this has a really nice look to it, a good size to it. It's very narrow, very slim, very sleek, and the flipper tab is very minimal. However, they tuned the detent extremely well, and they put the right kind of jimping there. So it's basically like, it almost feels like sandpaper, like it's really grippy. The flipper tab grips you back, and I love that. So this thing launches out. And even for such a light blade, it is still drop shutty. Not gonna be fall shut, you're gonna have to give it some shakes, but you can definitely shake shut it, no problem. And as the detent ball breaks in, that will just get smoother and smoother. Ergonomics, it's a small compact knife. It's what you would expect, right? It's not going to be super comfortable in the hand for long-term heavy-duty use, but for basic EDC tasks, you're not going to have an issue at all. The geometry is done very well. It's not super thick, but it's also not super thin. It's going to be appropriate for most people's use. My biggest negative to this knife is just the plunge grind sharpening choil. That's the only thing, because of, especially with this one being a black blade, I don't want to create a smile, and I will no matter what. When I sharpen, I'm gonna hit that plunge grind. It will create a smile. There's no way I can avoid it. I could cut in my own sharpening notch, and there is plenty of room to do that because this has an internal stop pin, but I don't want to because it's a coated blade. So there is non-coated bladed versions, but that's a small nitpick considering it's not going to really hurt anything. It's just going to affect the appearance a little bit, maybe a little bit more difficult to sharpen the heel of the edge. But all in all, super solid knife. And like I said, only one little nitpick. It's pretty damn awesome. The price for the carbon fiber is a little bit on the heftier side, but if I was going to guess on the company that made it, not saying they've disclosed it, but if I was a betting man, I would say it's probably React. Let's get to the next one. Next one is the Saivian ST777. This thing, I freaking love this thing. This is by far my favorite Saivian to date. I love this thing. Now, this is going to be more of a premium Saivian. However, I do have a 20%, I think it's 20% off. I have a 20% discount code down in the description. So if you click the link and use the code, you'll be able to get a fat chunk of change off of the purchase. Now, it has an M390 sick, nasty drop point Tonto blade with a recurve. This blade shape is so good. I love this blade shape. Because this edge is straight right here, it's like a claw. So like when you go to, open things up or do utility cuts or anything, it's almost like using a Warncliffe or like a Hawkbill without it being that. So very, very good tip. And if you look at the spine, it's almost like the shape of a spear point without it being a spear point. The secondary tip's very pronounced as well, so you can use that. This recurve is subtle, so it's going to be fairly easy to sharpen still. You can use slim stones, you'll be just fine. But it is a hollow grind, so it's very thin here. And mixed with these ergonomics, this thing slices like a beast. I love using this thing. It's just a joy to use. The handle, if you notice, it goes from slim to a little bit wider, not by much, but a little bit, which I really like. Very comfortable in the hand. Now, this is a titanium frame lock with a ironwood inlay, and the inlay is done extremely well. You would expect this to be from a much more higher end company with the way this inlay is done. Titanium milled pocket clip and a titanium backspacer. And then the action, if you look at the flipper tab, look at how low the flipper tab is relative to the pivot. You would think it would not be a good flipping action, but they tune this detent nice and strong. You can push button it and it shoots out rapidly, or light switch. Both of them work equally as good. So what I like to do is do a medium, like an in-between, where because the jimping is really good on the flipper tab. So you just basically rest your finger on there and just basically like snag down like that. And it's kind of like an in-between a push button and a light switch. It works extremely well. Like I said, this thing is very, very snappy, very reliable flipper tab, especially for so low. However, being low like this relative to the center of the pivot, even though this one works so good, you would think it was like way up here. That also makes it where it's low here, it's going to be high here. So instead of it being down here and pushing me back on the handle, it gives me all the room I need. Now, I do have a couple negatives though. One, the clip could have a little bit more room underneath. It's just fine for most people's jeans, regular Levi jeans, regular jeans. It's going to slide in and out, no problems. It's perfect. But when you get the thick pocket jeans, it is a little tight right up in here. You can still carry it, but it is tight. My next thing is sharp control and plunge grind. I'm not a fan of that. I wish there was a, a notch out there separating the end of the plunge grind from the edge so I don't get a smile when I sharpen, and just giving me room to sharpen. And then my biggest negative of all is where the detent lands. The detent is very, very late, and then they also put a ramp on it. Ooh, I wish they did it a lot earlier. Now, here's the thing. The reason why they did it so late, there was a reason. It's because if they would have put the detent in a higher position, like right here, then the detent ball right here would have landed like up here. So the track would have been on the outside of the knife. Now, that's not a big deal if it's like on the lower part right here, but it would have been difficult for them to do. But I just wish they could have just pulled it up just a little bit to where it's not so low, and get rid of the ramp. The ramps, I don't think you should ever put a ramp on a knife unless if the detent ball is so early that you can easily get past it. Because what happens is you disengage and now you're hitting it. Now, the cool thing is that this is such a good ramp. And I mean, like, truly, this is a really good ramp. Like, it's so easy to swing past. Like, you almost don't even notice it because it's so smooth, that transition. And most people are just going to close it like this anyways, or they're just going to swing it down really quick. So it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I don't like double clutching right there, and fumbling around. But that ramp does make it very, very smooth to get past. But I just prefer a higher detent and get rid of the ramp. So that's really all the negatives. All in all, like I said, 20% discount code for the best Saivian I personally ever experienced. They do have a couple other really cool titanium or premium models that I do enjoy, but most of the knives I have from them are the very, very budget-friendly knives, which they do a really good job on it, but it is ultra budget, typically. Let's get to the next one. The next one is a new Miguron. Man, another sick, nasty knife, man. This is, I believe, the Monto or something like that. I'll put it up on the screen. Beautiful drop point, super deep hollow grind. I mean, this thing is very, very, very thin. I wish I had this when I did the Sliciest knife video, because this might have made the list. It is that slicey, very, very deep. There's another knife from Miguron that actually has a really, really sick, deep hollow grind. But this one's cool because the blade stock is not super thick. So the blade steel is M390. Titanium scales. We got the carbon fiber inlay. Typically they have multiple different versions, so they'll have the copper carbon fiber, or the silver carbon fiber. Titanium backspacer, titanium milled pocket clip, good access to the lock bar. It is just now breaking in. I've literally only just taken it out of the box, so it's still breaking in. Great detent, nice sound too. Yeah, it feels good. Not the drop shuttiest, but like I said, it's just breaking. You know what? Let's put a little KPL heavy on there. I'll link some KPL down in the description. It's the best knife oil. They have the heavy, they have heavy, light, and regular. I just recommend just getting the heavy and the regular. The regular's for the bearings, and then the heavy for detent balls. And boy, does it change knives. I mean, it'll literally take a knife that's super gritty and make it extremely smooth. Flipper tab, not like a super comfortable flipper tab. It does have sharp jimping, which I do like, but it works really well. And it's not super uncomfortable or anything. It's just fine. Yeah, it's good. Great flipper tab. Ergonomics, it is basically perfectly fitting in my hand. So I like the ergos. Great choke up spot. Finger choil's really nice. All in all, man, I like this thing a lot. Titanium scales are done really nicely. The chamfered edge is done really good. Love this deep satin finish. Migron's killing it, man. They're doing such a good job. T8 hardware all the way around too. Love to see that. The only thing, man, is this cutout for the lock bar. I wish they were on the inside. Maybe the clip, I'm sure it works just fine, but just, you know, things can't catch on it, but I'm sure this one's just fine. You know, you just gotta, sometimes you gotta, when you're putting it in your pocket, just kind of turn it like that and it'll get past it. But anyways, I think this thing looks sick. This is a cool knife. Migron's doing a great job. Let's get to the next one. Now, this is not part of the 5 knives, but it is still sick nasty. This is an all titanium razor from Titaner. This is the base in titanium. Then we have a titanium handle, a titanium head, and you can swap out your little blades. So it takes little tiny razor blades. Now, I am not used to using a razor like this, a single blade razor. I typically use like the Gillette style where it has like 4 blades or 5 blades and then one on the back. For a lot of men is that it makes such a close shave that it shaves the hair underneath the layer of the skin with the last blade. And having a single blade makes it to where you have a very close shave, but it doesn't shave the hair under the surface, leading to less likely of having razor bumps or ingrown hairs or things like that. So there is a lot of benefits to using a single blade razor. Now, I was a little hesitant at first because I've never really used one like this, but it actually worked out really, really well. It was, it took me only, you know, one time to really get it down pat. It has this flat spot right there that you can basically use as a guide to run down, you know, your chin. And to me, it worked really well. The only negative part is getting into very tight precision places. Now, typically with my Gillette, I'll use the back blade, the single blade back there that you can use for little precision areas. So you don't have that here. However, they do have other models or other versions. I'm hoping I get them on the channel, but they have another version that takes replacement heads, and it has the same type of head, or similar, it looks like the same type of head that I already use on my other razors. That would be really cool. I'd love to get that. This one being a single blade, I still can get into really tight places, and you'd be surprised how much control you can actually have over this once you get used to it. The blades are really easy to change. You just loosen this up right there. Then you take your new blade and you push out the old blade. Then you push out the old one right there. Put the new one in. Now there's 2 little ridges right here and right here where you can adjust it. So you can put it exactly where you want and then tighten it up. It's actually very easy to change. And then bang, that's it. And these are super affordable. So yes, the handle is going to be expensive, and a lot of people are going to be like, why would you want to spend that much money on a razor? But to me, this is something that's going to grow with you. This is something that used to be something that a man would buy only a couple times in their lifetime, you know, especially when they were like straight razors and stuff. So I understand the appeal of wanting the same razor for a very, very, very long time, and it being made at a very high level with high quality materials. And me being a titanium whore, hard H, I love that this is a titanium handle. And like I said, I'm really excited about trying some of their other models out because I love the idea of having a titanium razor that lives with me for a very long time. But it winds up being a buy once, cry once type of thing. I will have everything linked down in the description for you guys. You guys can check out some of the other stuff that Titaner has on their site. Like I said, we will be having some more stuff from that company here very soon. And next is the new WeKnifeCo Neifs. Now, this is not a new model, and I'm sure you've seen the Neifs before. However, a new version just dropped. So these were getting, well, they were impossible to get unless you got them on the secondary market because all the versions had sold out except for like the Damasteel version or something, which is super expensive. However, they just dropped a new variant or a new version with a titanium inlay that is, you know, it's the same price as the, you know, all the other Neifs were. So you have an opportunity to get one of the Neifs. This got Knife of the Year for me last year. What an incredible model, man. This clip point blade is super, super slicey. The titanium handle is very comfortable. The flipper tab, look at where the flipper tab lands. Look at how high it is relative to the center of the pivot. Even without using detent, look at how far that pushes out there. Like, you don't even need a detent on this to make it smash out. This thing, it rockets out. Titanium mill pocket clip is super smooth in and out of the pocket. Hidden lanyard pin back there. This, like I said, this is one of my favorite WE knives. There's a bunch of them that I do really like. This is definitely one of the better ones in the last couple years, at least in my opinion. Most of the people that did buy the Nefarious really liked it, and they are limited though, so there's only so many pieces per color option, so I'm sure this one's going to probably go pretty quick. And last, you guys might remember the PIRATECH Kraken. Well, now we have a fixed blade version. Not only is it a fixed blade version of the PIRATECH Kraken, but it has magnetic scales that have stitched leather on top of the titanium. That is crazy. Now, I got this, take a sneak peek at this at Blade Show, but very slim handle, even slimmer than the original Kraken, much slimmer. So if you guys don't know, just really quick, the Kraken has magnetic scales. Now, I do have a full video on this, so I'm not going to go in depth about this, but it makes it really easy to take apart, to fix anything, to change your Omega springs, to adjust anything or whatever, right? You don't have any hardware when the scales are on it because you just, pop these scales off. There's a screw right there holding on the clip, which holds on the other scale. And so it's very easy. You'd have one screw to take the entire thing apart as far as the scales go, but they have 4 magnets in there, making it super easy to pop off, put back on if you want to swap them or work on your knife. Now, this one is the DLC version. They do have multiple different color handles, so like different finishes and stuff like that. This one is much longer. Not much, but it's quite a bit longer. However, much more slimmer and thinner, and you really can feel that. It is very thin in the hand. You have a nice long blade hanging out of the handle of S35VN. The leather, it's like a suede leather, a blue suede leather that, my goodness, it's super soft, feels really good in the hand. It does offer like some texture that makes it very easy to hold it without it, sliding around in your hand. Now, here is the scales, and if you look, before we look at the scales, look at that machining. This thing is so light. Without the scales, this thing is almost non-existent. It is so light, it doesn't even make sense to you in your hand. It is like just nothing. It's like you're literally holding nothing. They machine this out very deeply. And if you look at the blade, look at this crown spine. It's a polished crowned spine. That is beautiful. They did a really good job with the finishing work. But the titanium scales with the leather stitching, look at that. That's crazy, ain't it? You got the magnets in there and then the stitching. I'm not sure how this will hold up through wet conditions and things like that. I have no idea. I have not used it yet. So, just be warned, I have not used it. I do not know how these scales are going to work. With this guy, they're great. I've used the hell out of this, and I've had multiple of them, and the scales have never popped off on me, through use or through anything. This guy, I'm not sure if that'll happen. I do feel a tiny bit of shifting if I start trying to like pinch around. It's very subtle, but I do feel that slightly, just a little bit. Now, I don't know if that means they'll wind up popping off if I'm really bearing down. Probably not, but it is a possibility, which I'm going to find out as I use it. It does not have a sheath. That is my biggest negative right now, is there's no sheath. So I don't know how I'm going to carry it around or how I'm going to use it. I don't know if I need to get a custom one made. Maybe they're making some. I'm not sure. But I need to get a sheath for this because it's going to be difficult for me to carry it around and test it if I don't have one. All in all, I possibly think that maybe they should use stronger magnets in here. And I'm only saying that because of that slight shift. It's either that or maybe this countersunk or this ridge that they have that countersinks inside the handle, maybe make that a little more pronounced or maybe tighter fit. But what I was going to say is I'm not sure the type of magnets they use, but the magnets that Winterblades is using, the Neo-Emblem, I don't know what they're called. I'll put it up on the screen. They are extremely strong magnets and they last forever. They only lose 5% of their strength every 100 years. So that means you're never ever going to have to worry about them losing their strength. So, and they're extremely strong. I think that might be a little bit better for this particular knife. But, maybe that's what they are using. I'm not sure. Like I said, the finishing works beautiful on this. Like I said, the only real negative, is the trail could be a little bit better. They tapered the plunge down to the edge. I'm not that mad at it because it is a fixed blade. It's just fine, and you can easily cut your own choil in if you want to on a fixed blade. But not having a sheath, that's the one thing. And then, yes, I feel the scale slightly shift if I'm I don't feel it right now, but when I'm really trying to feel it, I can feel them moving very slightly. But anyways, I think this thing is damn cool, and I can't wait to see all the different scales they have for this model and what we're gonna see next. PIRATECH, man, hey, they're doing some cool work, man, because their first model was already amazing, and they already started out doing innovative stuff, so I can't wait to see what else they have in store for the future. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.